What's the stupidest thing someone has said to you with confidence? Was talking with a few friends, and one of them got on the topic of going to a gynecologist appointment and said, well, while he's down there, he might as well do a prostate exam. Chaos ensued when she refused to believe that women didn't have a prostate. If you ever fall out of a plane without a parachute, you should grab onto the ground when you hit it so that you don't bounce, because that is the bounce that kills you, not the first impact. He swore that it was true and that a skydiving instructor had told him. I mean, I believe the skydiving instructor told him that, but the skydiving instructor probably thought he was smart enough to get the joke. They laid their jacket right beside a stove. Don't worry, it's waterproof. Did they really confuse water and fire? Yeah. I just stared at them for a minute until what they said sunk in. That the way I'm pronouncing my own name is wrong. An aunt made my 18th birthday cake and spelled my name wrong. When it was pointed out, she said, "That's the way I spell it." She was insinuating that my mother spelled it incorrectly. My front desk gym rep. I gave them a 1-week free gym membership. March 27th to March 35th. And it would have been March 34th anyhow. Exactly. So many levels of dumb. They even hand wrote a 1-week free membership card out with the same dates. I didn't see the card until the member came in the next day and showed it to me to check in for the day. They didn't even say anything. When I was in grade 10 of high school in the US, so we were 15 over 16-year-olds, a guy in my class argued with me because he was insistent that the penis has a bone. Because, and I quote, "Why else would it be called a boner?" Interestingly enough, while human penises do not have bones, the penises of almost all other primates do. The Greeks didn't have metal. Even to this day their cars are made out of a sturdy balsa. I wish there was a window in between us, so I didn't have to look at you. When I was moving to Hawaii, I had a friend ask if they had cars/roads there. She believed they got around using tiny boats. Imagine saying you are from Egypt. Peep houses. All my homies live in pyramids. And travel strictly by camels. Nothing else. A distant cousin, who has long been a complete dumbass, once told me that whatever direction she is facing is north. It came up when I was on the phone giving someone directions and she was nearby. I said something like go north on X street, then take a left on Y, etc. She overheard me and said that I didn't make any sense because whatever direction you're facing is north. So north changes depending on which way you are facing. I said no, north is north. It's only the direction you're facing. If you happen to be facing north, and she started arguing with me over it. She definitely was not just peeping with me because she is a dumbass that has a long history of saying really stupid speep. Your cousin is a compass, which is short for complete ass. So leather comes from chickens, right? That she could never use a sperm donor to have a kid because she wasn't 100% sure that the baby/child would speak English. It's probably for the best that she won't use a sperm donor. Oh, I don't believe in electrons. I've never seen one. Have you? No, I didn't think so. A visiting professor insisted that daylight saving time is needed at latitudes closer to the equator instead of farther from the equator. She then claimed that she lived in the USA for a while and she had experienced DST herself. Her reasoning was that New York observes DST and New York was near the equator. When I pointed out that it snows in New York and it's not close to the equator, she claimed that she had been there and it never snows in New York. We live in India, within the tropics, and we don't observe DST, but she claims we are far from the equator. She was easily the most arrogant piece of speep I have ever met. She was wrong about so many things, but aggressively yelled what she thought was right. Space was created by Disney to further the hoax of space/Earth being round. He was dead serious, and he quoted his own brain after much research as his source. I wish I was kidding. Wow, what an idiot. Everyone knows Disney created the hoax of space in order to sell more copies of Star Wars. My SSGT while I was on active duty fairly new to the base said straight up, why are you always trying to learn all the time? Just stop it, it's stupid. He didn't like it that I asked questions about WTF I was doing and why I was doing it. How else was I supposed to know how to do my job? Good soldiers always follow orders, goofy. I used to work in a lab where origami was a pretty big thing. So there were origami figurines all over the place. Some guy comes to visit and comments on the figures and says those are nice. What are they called? Macram? I said they're origami. He responded, I'm pretty sure it's macram. I'm usually right about this sort of thing. Well, obviously, you're not. I had a roommate in college who visited Spain and thought that it was hilarious that people there commented on his accent. For him, I don't have an accent. I'm an American. Tom, you're one of the reasons that people think that we are all stupid. In a similar vein, a friend of mine in college had a boyfriend from the UK. You would not believe how many people asked him how he was able to speak English so well. It was horrifying. I was having a conversation with someone from the UK, and one of my friends complimented his accent. He said he liked our accents as well, and she just goes, we don't have an accent, haha. The look of utter confusion on this dude's face killed me. How can it be 9 AM here Toronto and 6 AM in Vancouver at the same time? A work colleague, years ago. I tried to explain it, but it didn't work. I work with long-haul truckers and I literally had to explain time zones to one of them. It blew my mind. Didn't he wonder why the time kept changing? When I went into the nuclear navy, I got the equivalent to a PhD in nuclear engineering in 6 months. All the real nuclear engineers just fell down laughing. Talk about brainwashing. Having gone through that program, I can attest that it's rigorous. Having gotten out of the nuclear navy and going to college to study nuclear engineering, I can attest they are not the same. People in high school didn't believe me when I told them that English came from England and was indigenous to England. Similarly, for some reason, someone in college insisted that English was indigenous to America. I was in New York City for a holiday and someone I was speaking to asked me if I was French. I said no, I'm English, and she told me I wasn't speaking real English. I had to explain to her that that would be difficult considering I speak English and am from England. She did not see the irony. I believe the ferrets have laid their eggs again in the attic. I hear them strolling around since a few days. 1/4 is greater than 1/2. You're not Asian, you're Chinese. She's Asian. You don't know that. She could be Korean. You can only get COVID-19 if you get bitten by someone who had it. COVID positive people also have to be invited into your home. That's why I haven't gotten it. Nobody wants to visit me. You shouldn't wear a seatbelt because, in the event of a crash, you're better off being thrown out of the car than being trapped in it. As an EMT, it would certainly be less paperwork. Right? Wounds incompatible with life. Chart. Done. A few of my coworkers and I went out to eat after work to a local bar and grill. One of my coworkers is pescatarian. Another one of my coworkers, Chris, is prone to speaking with absolute confidence about things he has incredibly little knowledge about. Jenny's pescatarian orders buffalo shrimp, which is listed under a header of wings, and bites Chris with supreme confidence, corrects her, and says, "No dear, those are wings." He got possibly the dirtiest look I've ever seen as the table started laughing at him uncontrollably. My old roommate and I went to dinner at a nice restaurant one night. I ordered a veal dish, and she got lamb. After our orders were placed, she started to scold me about how could you eat a baby animal? That's so sad and mean and disgusting. She apparently did not know that lamb was a baby sheep and had eaten it regularly all her life. My brother-in-law said that black people have 6 toes. I'm black and said that isn't true. We actually argued over it. There was a guy I knew from the UAE in college with me. We were talking about track and field for some reason, and he blurts out, yeah, women shouldn't be running so fast because their ovaries will burst. He was absolutely serious and insisted this is a well-known fact taught in high school biology. When I was in the 9th grade, I argued with some 12th graders about how to spell Wednesday. They didn't believe it was WED. The teacher had to come out of his office and tell them I was right. Canada is part of the United States. My Canadian friend told me once. My dad's story. A co-worker told my father that you should always bring someone with you in the operating room when you're having surgery, or else the doctor will molest you. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but apparently the guy was 100% convinced that every doctor would do it. I can't make you come because your legs are short and girls with short legs can't come easily. For him it was true. Also, for him, women with long legs had trouble. You're blind, so you don't need to wear a mask. W. Someone once told me that smoking cigs will help treat my asthma. BC my lungs would be building a tolerance to the smoking, and that means that I won't have such a hard time during asthma attacks. BC my lungs would already be used to the strain that smoking causes. He even tried to back it up with my friends have asthma and they smoke. You should try to incorporate cinnamon and apple cider vinegar into your diet. Then you can get off the insulin and use more natural products to control your blood sugar. I'm a type 1 diabetic. Have you tried not being diabetic? I honestly have, and it landed me in the IQ lol. Probably not the stupidest, but they didn't have planes in WW1. This was said while we were playing Battlefield 1 from a high schooler who has seen It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown at least a couple of times. Also, to make this better, this happened on 3 separate occasions. Was talking to an old hippie about weed once. He insisted that there existed 2 different kinds of grams, metric and imperial. The sun is made of gold. We debated for hours. He still refused to believe it was not. Asians don't have fingerprints. I had family in Hawaii when a hurricane was about to hit. I was worried about them and had a coworker tell me, don't worry about it. They are going to move the hurricane out of the way. They can bring them on, they'll push them back. When you drill a hole, you need to place your hand behind the spot where you're drilling. He said it'll make it easier to drill. I really didn't want to add a hole to my hand,